What's up, guys? Today's topic, we're actually going to be going over goal setting, and it's not going to be the kind of goal setting that you are probably used to hearing around this time of year. I think it's an appropriate topic considering it's January 2nd today, and people are probably setting goal or have already set goals or are making plans to achieve certain things in the new year here in 2020. But what a lot of people do is they set an annual goal, and I think usually sometime before the end of January, people will drop out of what their New Year's resolutions are. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over something that I find to be a fascinating way to set goals. And I think this is a way more effective way to go about setting goals and actually accomplishing them. I think it's actually something, it's kind of counterintuitive to what most people do. So what I'm going to start off by talking about, I'm going to tell you why setting annual goals sucks. And then I'm going to tell you what the solution is. So what I think annual goals are less effective. And actually, let me just say this first. Everything that we're going to talk about in this episode today is based on Brian Moran's book, 12-Week Year. And I think it's a fascinating book. I think the guy's brilliant. And I've read his book 2 or 3 times. He's extremely intelligent, and he's a genius for building his business this way. Actually, it's how I do my business as well. I have my 12-week year goal sheet here as well. So annual goals are less effective, according to Brian. And actually, I know this from personal experiences. Whenever I set an annual goal, it was just so far out. You just feel like you have so much time. And what happens is you put it off, like maybe January, February, March. You're like, I got 8, 9, 10 months, 11 months to go. I'm fine. I'll be fine. And then what happens is October, November start to show up, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not even close to what I'm trying to do for my year. Like, there's no way I'm going to get these goals done. And then it starts to be like pressure, and it increases stress. And then you feel like crap because you didn't hit your goals. So then you feel like a failure. And it doesn't do anything good for you. So 1, you didn't accomplish your goals. 2, you feel like a failure. And then 3, you stress yourself out. Like at the end of the year, when we got the holidays going around, which we don't need more stress at that time of year anyway, because it's already pretty stressful. Buying everybody gifts, taking care of the family, making sure that you do your rounds with the family, make sure that you don't, miss anybody. And, you have to make sure everybody gets the face-to-face contact. You don't want to make, you don't want anyone to feel left out. And like, you didn't go see, Uncle Johnny or whatever, or you missed, Aunt Sally and, wherever. So that somebody gets angry at you. So it's already a stressful time anyway. You don't need to add to it by not having your goals done as well. So, let's see what else we got here. So, looking at my show notes, we're going to talk about how, because it's farther out, it's going to have less certainty to it. The goals have less certainty because what happens is a year is 52 weeks. Most people can't really tell what they're going to be doing 52 weeks from now. Like 2019 just ended. I didn't know the last 3 months of 2019 were totally different than what I thought my life would be like. Actually, I had no idea what my life would be like at the end of 2019. So the last 12 weeks of 2019 were, what a shift in life I took to get to where I was. So it's totally different. So like if I set certain goals at the beginning of 2020 for the whole year, and then what happens is September comes around and then my life totally changes and then we're going a different route. It's like, okay, these goals are going to be shifted. There's a totally different thing going on. So the dynamic is too far out to predict. It doesn't give you a good a gauge as to how to plan things. You can't plan that far ahead. I mean, unless you're planning a wedding, people don't plan that far ahead, especially for themselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift to Brian Moran's 12-week year policy, which is where you set a goal that's only 12 weeks out, which is a quarter of a year. You set a goal for 12 weeks out, and then you take a week off to reset, to basically look back on what you've achieved. You get to analyze what worked, what didn't. And then after that, after your week off, you get right back into the new goals that you set during your week off. And now, okay, what's the next 12 weeks lined up? So if you do it 12, 12, 12, it's 48 with 4 weeks off. You have 52 weeks in a year. So that's how it works. And so basically what these 12 weeks will do is it'll actually allow you to do it will increase your ability to focus, because focus is you can focus on the next 3 months. Like you can pretty much have a fairly good idea as to what you want to be doing in the next 3 months. You can be like, okay, it's January now. I know February is going to be looking like this, and March will probably be looking like this, and this is what I need to get done. So it's close enough. You can see that it's easier to like measure your goals progress. It's easier to see what's going on in your life that much closer rather than seeing 52 weeks out. So you'll have, like I said, you'll have greater predictability. So another thing we'll talk about is like it provides a structure and creates an easier implementation for a real plan. So like because it's closer, because it's more predictable, you can create a real plan. It's a lot easier to create a plan that can actually be implemented, because like if you're trying to plan for something 44 weeks out or 51 weeks out, it's kind of hard to implement like a plan. Like, okay, well, it's January 1st now. What about 37 weeks away from now? This is what I'm going to be doing that week. Like, that's so hard to do. Like, so much can happen in that much time. So who knows what's working and what's not? Like, what happens if you're crushing your goals and like maybe you're well past what your goals are and you're doing so well, like to only do in week 37 what you planned in January in week 1, that wouldn't be very productive either, because then you'd be slowing yourself down. So like it's good to stop and reassess. And so you just focus on 12 weeks. It's a 12-week year. So basically January 1st to March 31st, that's your 12 weeks. Or whatever, I'm not looking at a calendar, but I'm assuming that's around 12 weeks. So don't correct me on the dates themselves. So here you go. The other thing is what's really important that Brian Moran talks about is the two things about tactics. And there's tactics and then there's concepts, which you want to make sure that, and then there's also you don't want your tactics to be goals. So you don't want, let's put it this way, if you're going to the gym, you're like most people have fitness goals. Let's do that. So if you're going to say you want to lose weight is a very vague goal. To just say, I want to lose weight, that's not a very good goal. So you need to be more specific so that you can measure it. So like for you, if you just say something like mixing up a tactic versus a goal, like you don't want to make a tactic the goal. So like to say, I want to go to the gym 4 times a week or 5 times a week. That's not a goal. That's a tactic. So the goal for that specific sentence would be, I want my weight to be 185 pounds. So that's measurable. Like if I'm 190 now and I want to lose 5 pounds to get down to 185, that's a goal. That's trackable. I can measure that. I can stand on a scale and see if I'm losing weight or not. And then as a tactic to complete that goal, one of the tactics will be go to the gym 5 times a week. You can measure that. And then you can log that. Like you can say, oh, I only made it 4 times this week. I only made it 3 times this week. Or I didn't make it at all this week because I was traveling. Or hey, awesome, I did it this week. I'm on a 3-week streak of going to the gym 5 days in a row. You can see your progress. You can build momentum that way. But so you want to make sure that your goals are actual goals that can be measured, and you don't want to make your tactics your goals. Going to the gym 4 times a week is not a goal, because you can't, it's, yes, you can measure that, but you're not measuring a result. You're just measuring activity. Like, but it's not plastered against the result. So the result would be to get to 185, which would be the goal. In my particular case, using myself as an example here. So the cool thing is, because it's a 12-week year, you can break down a weekly plan a lot easier. Because you're only dealing with, instead of 1/52nd of the year, you're dealing with 1/12th of the year, which means it's that like I said before, like you have that greater ability to focus, and it brings you in. You get more precise results, more precise action plans because of it. So that's also helpful. And now another cool thing that I thought he mentioned that I thought was really interesting is that you're 7 times more likely to be successful if you have peer support. So that, like, to just go, like, oh, we'll stick with the gym example. Like, I used to work out with a guy before I moved like 45 minutes away from him. I used to work out with this guy in the morning. He's my best friend, and he would. I'm an early guy. Like, I wake up at like 4 a.m. So, and I told at the time we were waking up around 5 a.m. And I said, let's start going to the gym at 5 a.m. together. Start waking up. And he, it's right around like 9 or 10 days. He started to be like, oh, this is way too hard. Like I can't keep doing this. And and I said, no, you can't quit now. Like you've got to get through the first 30 days to make this a habit. Like then it will be normal for you. But like if you quit now, nothing happens. But like, and he didn't quit and he kept going. And he, eventually it became a habit, like waking up at 4:45 a.m. I'd pick him up at 4:50 something, and then we'd be at the gym by 5 when the gym opened. And because I was there to keep him going, he was able to, establish a routine and make it part of his life and develop a habit. So he was more successful in that situation. And there's been plenty of instances in my life where that's happened as well, where I just have somebody looking over my shoulder. It's like, hey, look, don't quit now. Like you've got to get this done. For people who don't have that, like in my example with my best friend, if he didn't have me, or even if it's not me, if he didn't have somebody over there to like tell him to keep going, like he would have just quit. He would have just went back to going to the gym after work around, whenever that is, probably around 6 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening when everybody else goes to the gym. And then it just gets crowded and he can't use the machines as well. And then it's discouraging. And then maybe you just stop going to the gym altogether. So, the 5 a.m. hour was nice because you have full reign of the gym. There's nobody there. And you don't have to worry about the machines, anybody hogging it up, and it motivates you. It's the start of your day, and now you're wired and energized in the morning. So the 5 a.m. was awesome. And then also, and this last point goes without saying because we already know this, but we need to write our goals down. And Brian Moran talks about when people write their goals down, they are 80% more likely to come true. Increase productivity by 80%. So that's what makes things, that's obviously a big number. Like 80% increase is no small number. So if I can be 80% more productive just by writing my goals down and then seeing the plan there on a piece of paper, like week 1, do this, week 12, week 2, all the way to week 12, that's so much more productive. So, I guess what to get from today, I would probably, what I did is I went to Brian Moran's website, or I typed in 12-week year, and he printed out like a 12-week year goal sheet, and and you don't set a lot of goals. I only set 2 for right now, just to focus, because it helps focus. When you set like 15 different goals, you're spread thin in all kinds of different areas. I focus on 2 goals. One could be financial, one could be business related, one could be family related. You could pick. There's different categories, and you can have maybe like sub goals and things like that, but focus on 2 main goals, or maybe even 1 main goal. And then maybe have sub goals beneath that, or milestones would be a better word. So like maybe have, if you want to pay your car off, it's $30,000 in debt or whatever, or let's just say you have $30,000 car loan, be expensive car, but still. And you want to pay it off in the next 12 weeks, might be aggressive, but like, you can build a plan around that. And then each milestone, like every $10,000 that you pay off could be like milestone 1. So like you'd have to pay off $10,000 per month, and it'd be like you can achieve milestones that way. So, just to give you guys an example of what I mean there. So, guys, hopefully you guys did get a lot of value out of this today. I would go to Brian, like I said, I would go to Brian Moran's website, just type in like 12-week year goal sheet, and you can print it out and use his stuff. He's got great material. He's a genius. So, if you have any questions about this kind of stuff, feel free to email me, and I will see you guys on the next episode.